My son was secretly thrilled to hear the cycling trip to Tsinghua and Peking University would be led by a female captain. I tailed them in my car and saw male and female riders, complete strangers, singing and dancing together after dark. My husband even encouraged our son to loosen up, saying, "The whole point of this trip is to have fun." The moment he crawled out of the tent, I caught him red-handed. I threw a scene at the campsite that night. Determined to report this morally corrupt cycling group, the female guide took my husband and son, abandoned me at the edge of the uninhabited zone, and left me to be devoured by starving wolves until only my bones remained. When I opened my eyes again, my son said he wanted to ride his bike to report for duty. Looking at the two of them, so eager to go, my son is so brave. "Since Dad's going with you, I won't join." "What? You can't back out now. Who's going to handle the luggage?" My son turned pale with shock. He had it all figured out: travel light by leaving his luggage in my car, with me at his beck and call for food and drinks throughout the journey. For over a decade, I kept this routine without fail, delivering his lunch for 18 years simply because he couldn't stomach the school cafeteria food. Sinking into the plush sofa at home, I felt my body and mind unwind, as I gazed at the familiar surroundings. Memories surfaced of my previous life, the series of cruel acts my son committed against me as I lay dying. He led me deep into the uninhabited zone, with my husband and the entire team following behind, their headlamps piercing the darkness. We locked eyes with the wolf pack emerging from behind the mountain and immediately beat a hasty retreat. My legs were severely injured, blood soaking through and gluing my pants to the wounds. Clinging to my last breath, I cried out my son's name, Shuoping. "Save me, you're the promising student I raised single-handedly who got into Tsinghua and Peking University. How could you do this to me?" Yet he clung to the female team leader beside him. "Only Aunt Bai Ruirui and I share the same dreams and passions. What can you do besides cooking? I don't think you deserve to be my mother. We're a team, no one would ever betray us. We're the ones who truly understand each other." Everyone was laughing and chatting happily, standing together and offering each other encouragement. Following by Ruirui's lead, they turned around, got on their bikes, and rode off. No light fell on me anymore, and I felt the wolf's breath sniffing at my pant legs. Then they began scrambling and fighting over it. It wasn't until I closed my eyes that it finally dawned on me. My husband's long-suppressed passion found its release when our son came of age, and he began sharing that freedom with him, in his mind. All riding buddies were vibrant and optimistic souls. Those weekly little encouragements became the solace that got him through everyday life, and I was the one standing in their way. In this life, a golden path lies wide open before you, but where it leads, who can say? Just thinking about my absence, all that attentive, on-demand pampering would vanish too. The stubborn little boy plopped onto the sofa, his small face all scrunched up, muttering weakly under his breath, "Then I won't go either. I'll just follow the path you've laid out for me." A sickly net leeching off my parents. "When you two end up bedridden someday, I won't even be able to decide whether to hire a male or female caregiver." My son gazed despondently at the ceiling, but only I noticed how his peripheral vision kept tracing my movements. Back when I just focused on studying, they'd fulfill any request I made, but now, I've decided to let go. I'm done trying to control whatever this son of ours wants to do. My husband stepped in as the peacemaker, sitting beside me to console me. "I know you hate seeing our son push himself through 10 days of cycling, but he wants to build his resilience. How about this? If it gets too tough, I'll follow behind on my bike." As he said this, his eyes gleamed with unconcealed avarice. He couldn't wait to go cycling with his female hiking companions, yet sanctimoniously claimed he was going to protect our son. All because he was certain I'd end up playing nursemaid to them. I'd be preparing food and drinks for the two of them the whole journey, and once they found a way to get me out of the picture, they could do whatever they wanted within the group. At that thought, I nodded. "I'll ride with you the whole way. And you, will you follow us in the car?" my son finally asked cheerfully. I pulled out a red envelope right before his eyes, which had dimmed with disappointment, seeing how thick it was. He snatched it from me in an instant, laughing heartily while counting the money inside. During high school, we kept his allowance on a tight leash, worried he might take that step too early before understanding love, which could hinder his studies. Now, looking at this money, a faint smile touches my lips. "Mom won't be going, but you can use this money to buy gear, or send a red envelope to your teammates when you're too tired to ride. Ask them to help carry some weight. Given you've just come of age, I'm sure the older riders will have no reason to refuse. Don't worry, Mom. Team leader Bai is the kindest person in the world." He started discussing with his husband about buying an imported carbon fiber frame bike. It'd look absolutely stunning and turn heads when riding. seems like he's really looking forward to this trip. I'm looking forward to it too. A wealthy young newbie like him. Do you really think the seasoned guys and gals in the group will go easy on him? How much, Mom? What's all this money for? My son's excited voice seemed ready to pierce through the floorboards. Having grown up with every need provided for, he'd never had much use for cash, though the stack in his hand looked substantial. It barely covered his tuition and school expenses. Too, I instructed. Get a decent bicycle, a good tent, and pack plenty of supplies so you don't suffer on the road. I'll be waiting for you two at the university gate. The two of them were huddled on the sofa shopping for gear. The moment I left, I overheard my husband Meng Shulang giving our son advice. A second-hand bike will do just fine, and we don't even need to bring a tent. When Dad takes you, Auntie Bai might even arrange some evening entertainment for you. Our son had just turned 18 and was still pretty clueless about these kinds of things. He exclaimed with unmistakable delight in his voice, "Should we use the leftover money to buy Aunt Bai a gold bracelet?" To the young boy, a gold bracelet represented the ultimate treasure, something he perceived as extraordinarily precious. But his father wasn't pleased. Who wears something so tacky while cycling? Gold bracelets are your mother's taste. Let's get Aunt Bai a blessed jade pendant. Tie it with a red cord. The two of us will always be her best friends. Father and son were laughing together, while my face turned stony. Walking downstairs, I called my lawyer, Attorney Wang. "You can print out that divorce agreement for me now." Gazing at the sky, I slowly let out a heavy sigh. I've finally reached my limit with this marriage. I've wanted a divorce since our last life. Meng Shulang may be handsome, but he's a complete horndog. He'd hit on his female gym trainer, groped the cashier's hand at the supermarket, after I caught him countless times. He got so bored at home he even started groping our cleaning lady. Furious, I cut off his credit cards and only gave him a monthly allowance, forcing him to at least pretend to be a decent father. What can I do? My son's private school keeps organizing events. One day it's a piano recital, the next it's a parent-child sports day. I endured it all for 18 years just to give my son a happy childhood. But those two have long hated me. At that thought, I made another call to my lawyer. Revise the divorce agreement again. He's not getting a single cent. The compassion I showed in my past life has turned into a cold, hard document in this one. Sitting in the family business my parents left me, I instructed my assistant to book my flight and a 5-star hotel. I've been utterly exhausted lately. I still plan to go to Tsinghua or Peking University, but whether I'll wait around for my son is another matter. With that thought, I emailed the school proposing to establish a scholarship specifically for children who are passionate about learning. Who says boundless love must be reserved solely for one's own son? Isn't an exceptional child just as worthy? I deliberately came home late today. My son has reached adulthood, and I've decided to leave my husband. My new life is about to begin. Skipping one meal won't starve them. To my surprise, the house was dark. My son sat sulking on the sofa, glued to his phone and ignoring me. And there was my husband, eating instant noodles at the dining table. He glanced up at me but said nothing. I slipped on my high heels, glanced at my freshly done nails, and couldn't help but sigh to myself. See, no one appreciates all you do for them, but the one time you don't cook, they act like you're the enemy. As the scent from my hair wafted by, my son's gaming phone emitted the defeat sound effect. "This is all your fault. You made me lose. You ruined my mood, you horrible woman." I shook my head, tears streaming down his face. He pointed at my hair, then at my manicured nails. He sobbed, accusing me, a mere housewife, of knowing nothing but how to spend Dad's money. "You just want a cut of Dad's money so you can go have some old man's babies, don't you? Well, let me tell you, if you get divorced, I'm staying with Dad. You're just a washed-up old woman nobody wants." My blood ran cold. I knew my son would be upset about me getting a perm and manicure. And I even worried he'd be in a bad mood if he had instant noodles when I came home late, but it never crossed my mind that my own son would speak to me with such venom. Shooting a glance at the silent Meng Shulang, I slapped my son across the face. "I've endured this for over a decade. I wanted to divorce your father years ago, but stayed just to give you a stable family." Looking back now, my patience was nothing but a joke. As I spoke, I placed the divorce papers on the table. The document clearly stated that I was relinquishing custody of our son. His sobs grew more intense. On one hand, he felt publicly humiliated by what I did, and on the other, the reality fell far short of his expectations. He had assumed Meng Shulang and I would engage in a bitter custody battle after our divorce, yet Meng Shulang merely glanced at the agreement before signing it. Deep down, he remained convinced I was just trying to intimidate our child, as long as he had custody of our son. He believed half the Lee family fortune would inevitably fall into his hands, not even bound by moral constraints. With an arm around his son's shoulder, he said something that made the boy's tears turn to laughter, beaming with joy. 3, all right then, just us guys hitting the town tonight, we'll hit the road tomorrow. Watching their retreating figures, I let out a quiet sigh. This bike ride might as well be your final farewell. This was the most restful sleep I'd had in 18 years. No need to worry about waking up early, no need to plan breakfast for the morning, only to be jolted awake by my son's phone call in the dead of night. He was sobbing on the other end of the line. Mom, I got arrested at the hotel. What am I going to do? I was just meeting an online friend. That's not illegal, is it? My mind went blank with shock. I grabbed the phone and fired back. You said you're at the hotel. Where's Dad? Hearing my voice seemed to calm them down a bit. And they started rambling about how they'd gone out for barbecue with Dad, their guide Auntie Bai, and another female rider. Then I got drunk and passed out somehow. Mom, if you don't come save me, I'll be too ashamed to show my face anywhere. How am I supposed to go to college like this? And what if that hiker presses charges against me? Their sobbing grew even more heart-wrenching. A cold sneer echoed in my heart. I almost wished he'd get sued directly and skip college altogether, sparing me the embarrassment. But now I had to go boost his confidence, so this troublemaker could stir up even bigger chaos. Reluctantly, I called my lawyer and headed straight to the police station. Meng Shulang was squatting by the door, completely at a loss. When he saw me coming, his face broke into a grin from ear to ear. I just gave him a look, telling him to get lost. Li Yuling. I was just taking the child to meet some friends. They're completely innocent. Nothing happened at all. I believe my son will explain everything clearly. Now he's really getting into it. Who's going to believe any explanation when you got completely wasted on our first meeting? Right now I feel like smashing his skull with a brick. Looks like a monkey possessed him without going through evolution first. Meng Shulang opened his mouth but couldn't get a word out. While the girl in skin-tight cycling gear behind him darted forward, she pointed right at my face and said, "Everyone is equal. Your condescending tone is incredibly grating. He's your husband, not some underling you can scold like a misbehaving child." I looked her up and down. Turned out to be an old acquaintance, in my past life. It was her command that silenced the only 2 decent people in the cycling team who tried to stop the dragging. Glancing at the documents my lawyer just received, I tapped her cheek with my freshly done long nails. No wonder my son called me the moment he woke up. So my husband's lost his soul. Huh, what do you have to say for yourself now? I ignored her and walked straight into the police station with my lawyer, not even looking back. That sly old fox can wait, but that little troublemaker, I'm going to give him a good kick or two tonight. Meng Shuiping was trembling with fear over the phone, but now that he's at the police station, he's calmed down a bit. When I walked in, he was shouting at the top of his lungs, "What's the problem? I'm an adult. Can't I travel with my girlfriend? We met through cycling." How? By buying gear from each other. Look, I even have the payment records. Standing in the heavily air-conditioned hall, I felt for the first time that my education was a complete joke. What are you doing here? Meng Shuiping now found my presence embarrassing. She shot me a glance and said to the lawyer behind her, "Is that your new sugar daddy? He's nowhere near as good as my father." For a moment, I seriously considered turning around and leaving, but wanting to see how this would play out, I looked at him with feigned concern. "I was just concerned about you. Now that everything's fine, can we leave?" With an arrogant and self-righteous attitude. He thought he had explained everything clearly and retorted to the officer taking the statement, "We're free to go now." Right, but the response he received was that they couldn't leave. What's wrong with me meeting an online friend? Why can't I leave? Meng Shuiping grew agitated, slamming the table and demanding an explanation. All eyes then turned to the girl in form-fitting clothes standing behind Shuiping. "You, tell us. How many times is this just this month? Did you even tell your good friend about all your issues?" The son's face instantly darkened when he learned the girl was a habitual heartbreaker. Grabbing the female rider by the collar, he demanded, "You told me you didn't even have a boyfriend, and now you're asking me to stay with you forever and transfer you money." As he said this, a sudden realization seemed to dawn on him. He abruptly released his grip. Then he wiped his hands on his clothes as if they were contaminated. "And you had the nerve to ask me for 10,000 to buy a phone, so you want us to have a secret relationship on the road? Is that so you're free to see other people?" Meng Shuiping suddenly realized he'd been scammed, and it looked like the two were about to come to blows. The female traveler suddenly laughed. "You brought this on yourself by being so naive. You willingly sent me those red envelopes. Even wrote gift on them telling me to buy a phone. You did all that voluntarily. Listen. You fool, There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Do you really think all those pretty girls would just let you take advantage of them for nothing? Fuming with rage, Meng Shuoping was on the verge of throwing a punch at the guy. The police warned him that if he continued to harass anyone, they would take severe action. They even threatened to report him to his school. Upon hearing that the school would be notified, 18-year-old Meng Shuoping hung his head in shame. His admission to Tsinghua or Peking University was the only impressive achievement he could claim at this point. As we stepped outside, my son quietly apologized to me. "Mom, I was too impulsive. The cycling community is so cutthroat, I simply couldn't afford to lose." I gently patted his head. My confidence completely shattered the moment I laid eyes on Meng Shulang. He began, "Shuoping. Aunt Bai is lending you her carbon fiber bike frame tomorrow to cheer you up." "Really?" Shuoping's eyes lit up. Unable to meet my searching gaze, they averted their eyes. "Well, old habits die hard, don't they?" I got into the car that the driver had brought around. I heard my son muttering sarcastically nearby, "Another old man. None of them can hold a candle to you, Dad." The car window rolled down, and I gave a nod. "Exactly. How could any of them possibly match your dad's scumbag ways and rotten heart?" The luxury car sped off, kicking up a cloud of dust in its wake. The three of them were swallowed by the gloom. Meng Shuoping ended up taking to the cycling path again, but whether the coddled Shuoping can endure the hardship remains to be seen. I slept soundly through the night in the princess-style bedroom at my parents' house. My mother's voice came at me with playful reproach. "Serves you right for sneaking out the household register to get married. I told you good looks don't pay the bills. But you insisted all men are the same. How could they possibly be?" She pulled out a card album, and I thought she'd gotten hooked on those Livestream card unboxings. I never expected it to be a model card. All of them were male models with chiseled abs. There were chocolate-skinned ones, fair ones like Samoyeds, and even mixed-race models. Taken aback, I pointed at the abs and asked my mom, "What are you trying to do?" She smiled without saying a word. "If we're talking handsome, nothing beats being 18. Don't like someone, move on, get pregnant, have the baby. If he hits you and you fight back, that's not domestic violence, it's mutual combat. Want to break up? Just kick him to the curb. No need to wait through any 30-day cooling-off period." "Mom, you've truly mastered marriage law." I slowly raised a thumbs up. Before I knew it, Mom poked my forehead with her finger. "If it weren't for your father's inheritance, do you think I would have gotten married?" It suddenly dawned on me. Today was the day we were supposed to start our bike trip. I lay sprawled on the big bed and opened by Duan Duan's cycling livestream. Her stunning looks and cool charisma have earned her a massive following. She commands great respect when organizing local cycling events, so when she held up her phone to show netizens her squad of attractive riders, someone in the comments asked, "Why haven't we set off yet? It's already noon." Though visibly tired, Bai Duan beamed with a radiant smile. "For the first day, we'll focus on acclimation training. We'll head to the campsite early for a bonfire barbecue." The group responded with enthusiastic cheers, and I spotted Meng Shulang and Meng Shuoping among them, both dressed in full cycling gear. The two of them were beaming with radiant smiles. "Enjoy your laughter now. Whether we reach the camp safely will depend entirely on your luck." The group set off, chatting and laughing along the way, but as they left the city, large trucks began appearing more frequently alongside their convoy. Some netizens advised them to stay safe. Bai Duan simply smiled and panned the camera away, letting everyone enjoy the scenery. In the corner of the frame, the pampered son was already drenched in sweat, his face flushed red, his pace slowed until, within moments, he completely vanished from the shot. My son was sobbing on the phone, "Mom, they were riding way too fast. The skin on my legs is scraped raw. I can barely walk." Hearing his voice didn't surprise me one bit. 5. But I'd already given him money. I'd done all I possibly could. "Oh." I glanced at my freshly done nails. I shot back, "What about your dad? And your little girlfriend, your cycling buddies? Not a single one could help you out. They've all gone ahead. Hurry up and give me a ride. I need to make it to the bonfire party." Absolutely incorrigible, I told him, "There's $500 in your shoe, use it to hail a cab." I could hear him chuckling on the other end, followed by rustling sounds as he took off his shoe to retrieve the money. The moment he got the money, he was filled with motivation. He shouted excitedly to me over the phone, "Mom, don't just spend Dad's money recklessly from now on. Do you think making money is that easy?" Amid his cheers, I heard him happily get into someone else's car. I gave the money to the driver. At the same time, I heard the driver's meaningful inquiry, "Son, that's a pretty expensive ride you've got there." Addicted to the act, Meng Shuoping responded with utter nonchalance, "This is nothing. My dad's a big shot." "A big shot? no wonder you've got such a fancy phone." As the car turned off the main road, Meng Shuoping's trembling voice could be heard shouting, "What are you doing? Why are you taking my phone? I'll call the police." A sharp crack sound. Through the headset came only Meng Shuoping's desperate sobbing and cries, "Mom, call the police, save me, please save me, they're taking my phone." Then, the sounds abruptly cut off. In my past life, I would have worried about strangers being tempted by wealth to commit murder. This time around, I only fear they won't go far enough. Just making them suffer a bit will suffice. After all, mere suffering would be letting them off too easy. I had resolved to never care about these two's survival again. But with the severe storm grounding all flights, driving ourselves to Beijing is still the way to go. I headed back down to the home garage, picked out a rugged off-road vehicle, loaded up supplies, and hit the road with our driver. To my surprise, we ran into Meng Shuoping again. He was walking along the outbound highway, tears streaming down his face. His bicycle was gone, and the limited edition sneakers on his feet had vanished too. His white socks were stained crimson with blood. He waved at every passing vehicle, but this road was full of semi-trucks. What driver would stop for a teenage kid? The sight of my luxury SUV made him wave his arms with even more enthusiasm. I told the driver directly, "Don't bother with them." Despite my words, not long after, I spotted the cycling crew singing and dancing around a bonfire in a grassy area just off the roadside. Meng Shulang was completely wasted, completely unaware that his son had already been robbed. We had been on the road for several hours. Our car was pretending to be pulled over for maintenance. In the distance, we saw the crowd that had set up tents. Drunk men and women were putting their arms around each other and disappearing into the tents. Meng Shulang, clutching a liquor bottle in one hand, had his other arm slung around the female guide by Duan. They slipped into her little pink tent. As the campfire slowly died out, untimely sounds began to drift through the campsite. In the rearview mirror, Meng Shuoping was finally seen hobbling to catch up with the main group. He felt a mix of excitement and hesitation. The voice made him blush, though not a glimmer of light could be seen. After a moment's hesitation, he started walking toward my car. He tapped gently on my window, his voice filled with anguish. "Excuse me, could you spare some food?" There's no way the driver would roll down the window without my permission, with the tinted film covering all the windows. I could see his face clearly, but he couldn't make out that it was me sitting inside the car. What's more, he had no idea that the house, the cars, all the family assets, none of it had anything to do with his braggart of a father. I was born into wealth, and after marriage, I continued to run the family business, yet he naively believed that everything we had at home was earned by his father. As for me, I'm just a housewife. Seeing no movement from us, Meng Shuoping assumed the car was empty. He kicked the car door with brutal force. The impact triggered the car alarm, startling amorous couples nesting in nearby tents. Meng Shulang even mistook it for a police raid. Terrified, he pulled on his underwear and bolted outside. The moment he recognized Meng Shuoping, he lashed out with a swift kick. "What's all this racket in the middle of the night? Shouldn't you be sleeping?" His head still swam with drink, and he'd been sleeping so peacefully just moments before. But Meng Shuoping began to cry. "My phone got stolen. Why didn't you come back for me?" Only when Meng Shulang saw his son's blood-soaked feet did he realize the boy had just arrived. Bai Duan had also gotten dressed and emerged from the tent. He returned alone, the carbon fiber frame long gone without a trace. His expression instantly darkened. "Where's my bike? Don't tell me you lost it. That frame alone cost me 50 grand, it's imported. My dad could cover even 800,000 if he had to." The hoarse-voiced Meng Shuoping could no longer stay seated. He shoved the two aside and made to crawl into the tent to sleep. Left alone, Bai Duan held up her phone, demanding Meng Shulang pay up. "Forget the parts, just the frame alone is worth 50 grand, hand it over now." 6. Meng Shulang hemmed and hawed, refusing to pull out his phone to transfer the money. It finally dawned on Bai Duan. This man was nothing like the polished image he projected, probably just like her. Seething with sudden rage, he stormed into the tent, grabbed Meng Shuoping by the ear, and flung him out. "This is my tent, the two of you can sleep wherever the hell you want." Meng Shuoping, who had just taken off his clothes and hadn't even slept 5 minutes, was thrown out of his warm sleeping bag. The night wind was chilly, and his face was full of irritation. Staring at Meng Shulang, "Dad, just give it to her. It's not like our family can't afford a few $1,000s, right?" Meng Shulang's silence only fueled Meng Shuoping's anger even more. He snatched the phone from him and immediately started making a call. "I get it now. It was my mom, wasn't it? She divorced you, took all your money, and left us with nothing. That's brutal." sitting in the SUV with the window half open. I listened to Meng Shuoping's furious phone call. His voice full of accusation. Wire me 50,000. I lost someone else's car. 50,000. I already gave that to you ages ago. The voice on the other end of the line faltered. Give me another 50,000, and you can divorce Dad. You can't just take both the house and the car. You need to understand, Dad's the one who brings in the money in this family. How can you, a housewife, have the nerve to ask for so much just to support your boy toy? I let out a cold laugh and paused. Who told you he's the one earning the household income, if he didn't earn it, did you? He asked with a sneer, but his voice soon tightened into a nervous tremor. As if unable to believe it, he shot back, you're the one supporting this family. My dad was the one who walked away with nothing. Now it was my turn to gloat. I even twisted the knife. He did leave with nothing back then, but recently he tried starting some club and ended up millions in debt to the bank. If he doesn't pay it back, he'll be labeled a deadbeat. Oh, he's a deadbeat, and you're just like him. Forget about getting any government job, your future's ruined. You'd better make him pay back the bank on time, or you'll be stuck with his debts. Meng Shuoping threw his phone aside and punched Meng Shulang right in the face. I rolled down the window completely and watched the father and son brawl. I could hear Meng Shuoping shouting fraud over and over. He couldn't believe that a top graduate from Tsinghua or Peking University like him had his future ruined by his own father. The hatred in his heart refused to subside. His punch landed with brutal precision. Meng Shulang quickly reacted, pinning him down on the grass while gritting his teeth to threaten. If you hadn't ruined my plans, I'd be living the high life tonight. What's the use of a son like you who can't even inherit the family fortune? Let go of me right now. I need to call my mom to come pick me up. The sound of their scuffle drew more cyclists to gather around and watch. Bai Duan stood at the forefront and had someone pull the two of them apart, pointing at Meng Shulang. You're telling me the money you invested was all borrowed. You're not actually a wealthy tycoon. Facing Meng Shuoping's incessant nodding. With a sharp glare, she clapped her hands, and the burly men behind her stepped forward with stern expressions. They hoisted Meng Shulang up and began dragging him away. Terrified, Meng Shulang wet his pants and wailed with his mouth wide open. Bai Duan, I divorced my wife for you. I even started a company for you. You can't do this to me. But what awaited him was being tied to the back of a motorcycle. With a pained cry, he was dragged by several people, scraping a long trail of blood on the ground. The son who witnessed this scene was utterly stunned. He had studied the route beforehand and knew that further along lay remote mountains where few people ventured, and where wolves might even roam. His legs gave out beneath him, and as he pointed a trembling finger at the distant, shrinking figure, he stammered, "What you're doing is illegal." But Bai Duan wasn't fazed at all. She patted his cheek and said, "You really are a fool. I just had your father pretend to take you in so we could claim your assets later. I never thought you'd actually cut ties with your own mother. What a complete idiot." Meng Shuoping collapsed to the ground as the truth dawned on him. He couldn't bring himself to stand up again. Only Bai Duan's voice pierced the night air. Accidents happen all the time in the wilderness. Who's to say this is real danger or just a setup? Call your mother now. Tell her to bring 1 million. Or we're throwing you into the ravine for the wolves. In the darkness, every single word pierced through the night and reached my ears, and I simply powered off my device without hesitation. Amid another wave of agonized cries, Meng Shuoping was also taken deep into the mountains. A cold smirk crept across the corner of my mouth. You too shall now taste the agony I endured in my past life. The night was thick with darkness as mist slowly engulfed the cycling team's small tents. When you wake tomorrow morning, eternal damnation awaits you. I called the trailing security convoy and, under cover of night, rescued Meng Shulang and his son Meng Shuoping. It's not about being soft-hearted, it's about revenge. Watching them turn on each other is the real satisfaction. Shortly after, my bodyguard called me. The older one might lose a limb, but the younger one's alright, just some minor injuries. Then just wait for the show to begin. The morning mist gradually lifted. A long trail of blood crawled back from the distance. The two men were disheveled and grimy. Meng Shuoping even held 2 animal bones he'd picked up along the way. He had no idea what happened. After blacking out, it felt like someone shook them awake in the middle of the night. After getting 2 injections, when he opened his eyes, he saw Bai Duan's little pink tent again. The bastards were still out cold. Meng Shuoping went around the tent and yanked out everyone's safety stakes. 7. The valley winds were fierce. In one powerful gust, the tent lifted off the ground with its occupants still inside, sending them airborne. Amid the chorus of curses, someone emerged from a tent. To their shock, The two people who were supposed to have been devoured by wolves last night had returned, drenched in blood. Screams immediately pierced the air. Bai Duan crawled out of the tent, her eyes filled with impatience. Upon recognizing the two figures in the mist, she covered her mouth, stifling a scream, but Meng Shueping, consumed by hatred, had no intention of letting her go so easily. He lunged forward and snatched the jade pendant from her neck, the one meant to safeguard her peace. He started dragging her with frenzied force. The sound of tearing fabric, women's screams, and the panicked cries of bystanders filled the air. The campsite had become a living hell. It wasn't until Meng Shueping pulled the person onto the road that it stopped. Only then did I realize that news vans were parked all around, both near and far. Reporters were capturing everything with their cameras, and I, as the investor of my own son's documentary, had unwittingly thrust this promising Tsinghua Beta candidate into the viral spotlight. People emerging from tents in the distance spotted the cameras and gradually realized something was wrong. They scrambled to pack their gear while covering their heads and faces. Bai Duan realized what was happening and struggled to her feet to confront them. Who's the director here? Who's in charge? We never consented to be filmed. You have no right to keep shooting. Shut down that live stream immediately. Little did she know, her disheveled appearance had already been broadcast to thousands of viewers watching the live stream. Cameras closed in around her as a host began firing pointed questions. Is this event of yours just an excuse for singles to hook up every night? Do your family and friends know you're involved in such vulgar activities? Those missing hikers from before, you dumped them in the mountains too, didn't you? These pointed questions made Bai Duan increasingly flustered. Her already flushed face grew even redder. Finally unable to contain herself, she shouted, "Shut up, I don't know anything. I really don't know anything. Get your supervisor to talk to me." This farce is finally coming to an end. I stepped out of the car. In my hand were the series of contracts signed by Meng Shulang and Bai Duan. One splurged money while the other profiteered, yet neither realized how challenging business truly is. This reality show had their signatures on it even before the cameras started rolling. I just shrugged. I knew Miss Bai was chasing fame. But I never expected a reality show to be this authentic. Color me impressed. Realizing her career was over, Bai Duan stared bitterly at the blood-soaked Meng Shulang, wishing she could tear him apart on the spot. The cycling event wrapped up perfectly after just one day. Of course, the reality show was like a stage that got dismantled after just one day's performance, because the police cars came and rounded up all these donkeys. They also busted a scam operation hiding behind the guise of outdoor activities. They were organized and had clear roles, using attractive women and outdoor cycling as a front to lure wealthy men into joining their group. What awaits them is a gradual descent into the world of investments and financial management. Step by step into the trap. Meng Shueping was also taken away. When he left, he wept as if the mountains were crumbling and the earth splitting. He kept shouting, "Mom, save me, Mom. I still want to go to school." But a mistake is a mistake. Everyone must atone for their impulsive actions. This includes him, and Meng Shulang as well. He had to have a limb amputated. Even though we were still legally married, I was the one who signed the consent form. Right after the surgery, I wheeled him straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau and we got the divorce finalized. Men's prime years are so fleeting. My mom was right. You should always go for someone who's 18. As a representative of our family business, I ultimately made my way to Huaqing. Through the scholarship established in my name, I hope to empower more aspiring students to navigate the vast ocean of knowledge with greater ease. In the distance, I spotted my son, covered in dust and looking disheveled. Finally released from confinement, I arrived at the auditorium just in time for the opening ceremony. Yet, the spotlight wasn't on him at all. It was all on me. I could see the loneliness, regret, and resentment in his eyes. Then, I noticed a staff member stand up. He was thrown out. With less focus on family matters, I now have more time to manage the company's operations. Thanks to quality sleep, she's become even more radiant and vibrant. Only when I heard the name Meng Shueping did my heart occasionally stir. They said he went back to high school. He decided to give it another year, still dreaming of getting into Tsinghua or Peking University. They also mentioned he was broke and had been working odd jobs. That was until I saw him on stage at a bar, moving with an unusually intense energy. The chemistry between two people needs to spark. A wealthy woman in the audience was holding up money, trying to touch his face. I suddenly felt physically sick and turned to leave. The bar manager chased after me and said politely, "Care to join us inside? We've got some real eye candy." I weakly waved my hand, completely drained. I leaned back against the leather seat, Only my bodyguard noticed my exhaustion. Sis, should I quietly ask the manager to give the young master some special treatment? He cut ties with me long ago. He signed away his own name right on the divorce papers that day. Do you really think I'd forget something like that? Some people, once forgotten, are lost to you forever, whether he lives or dies from now on. It has absolutely nothing to do with me. That is the greatest mercy I can offer him. Story 2. When Chi Lianzhou and my lifelong crush were both trapped under the debris, he chose to save my crush. I died in that earthquake. Reincarnated back to when I was 17, I did not accept Chi Lianzhou's confession this time. Instead, I ran towards the boy covered in wounds without hesitation, crying. I threw myself into his arms. I won't let anything happen to you again. Behind me, Chi Lianzhou looked pale as death. Why? Don't you like me this time? In truth, he was mistaken. I had never liked him from the start. Hey, deskmate, be my girlfriend. Chi Lianzhou confessed to me just like I remembered, dressed in his school uniform. He blocked my path with his motorcycle, his eyes rebellious. It was just after school, and the school gate was crowded with students. Everyone turned to look, except Chi's proposal. Miss Cheng, yes, Chi truly has feelings for you, Chi Lianzhou's friends teased from the side. The only difference was that this time it seemed much earlier. In my previous life, he confessed just before graduation. Now, we were only in our second year of high school. Perhaps because I really didn't want to see him, I didn't notice his slightly nervous expression. In my previous life, he had been confident. Sorry, I don't like you. I gave a completely different answer than in my past life. After saying this, I didn't look at him again and turned around to leave amidst the stunned crowd. Chi Lianzhou grabbed my wrist. Wait, I frowned and pulled away, stepping back with a guarded look. May I ask why? He asked, his gaze inquisitive. After a moment, I decided to tell him the truth to let him give up. Because there's someone else I like. It was just like how being with Chi Lianzhou was despite his true love, Yu Tian. My acceptance of his confession was also not pure. It was because he resembled Song Duo in some ways. During the 3 years I was with Chi Lianzhou, he never touched me because he was in love with Yu Tian. It saved me the trouble of avoiding too much physical contact with him. Over those years, I just kept being nice to him, hoping that his face would always carry a smile. That way, it felt as though I could see Song Duo smiling through him. But now things were different. Song Duo was still alive. To me, Chi Lianzhou was just a stranger. The next day, I intentionally arrived at school 20 minutes early. I spoke to the homeroom teacher about changing seats. I didn't want to sit with Chi Lianzhou for another minute. Why do you want to sit next to Song Duo? I was serious. Because his grades are very poor, and I can help him with his studies. I wasn't sure if the teacher believed me, but he agreed anyway. I moved my books to the seat next to Song Duo when there were still few people in the classroom. A few minutes later, Song Duo arrived. He glanced at me suspiciously. Who let you sit here? The homeroom teacher. I passed the buck quickly. The teacher asked me to tutor you. The boy scoffed coldly and said nothing as he pulled out a chair and sat down. I pushed the still warm bread and milk towards his desk. Song Duo, I bought too much breakfast. Can you help me finish it? Song Duo stared at me for a moment. If you can't eat it, just throw it away. I shook my head. That's such a waste. What's that to me? His voice carried a cold edge. I knew he had noticed. I had deliberately brought him breakfast. Song Duo's household only had his grandmother, who had a meager income. To save money, he seldom ate breakfast. Yet, for my sake, he would save up several days' worth of meal money to take me to a newly opened couple's restaurant. He would even race cars and sign life and death agreements with others to pay for my medical expenses. Eventually dying on that desolate mountain, remembering all this, I suddenly felt a wave of uncontrollable emotion. What will make you eat then? I asked softly. Song Duo furrowed his brows. Why are you crying? He finally compromised, taking the bread and milk from me. I breathed a sigh of relief, managing a small smile. You must stay healthy, Song Duo. Why did you change seats? A gentle voice rang out. Chi Lianzhou stood before me, looking at me with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. I just felt like changing. I couldn't even bother to make up an excuse to appease him. Whispers of astonishment spread around us. Chi Lianzhou was recognized as the most handsome guy in school. His grades, appearance, family background, and flamboyant personality attracted a host of admirers. Yet, I had willingly moved away from him. Some people's gazes clearly conveyed their thoughts of me being ungrateful. Ching Sui, if you're unhappy about something, you can tell me. If you think you're too far from the blackboard, we can move up front together. I shook my head. I just don't want to sit with you anymore. Chi Lianzhou's smile stiffened. Come out, let's talk. Okay, he said, grabbing my wrist. Friend, talk if you want to talk. No need for hands, Song Duo slowly spoke up. He was probably the only one in school who didn't regard Qi Lianzhou highly and could stand up to him. Qi Lianzhou's smile faded. What does this have to do with you? Song Duo chuckled. I suggest you let go of her hand, Qi Lianzhou scoffed, his tone dripping with mockery. Before he could insult Song Duo further, I had already freed myself from his grasp. Of course, it concerns him. I looked up at Qi Lianzhou. I like him. He has every right to be involved in my matters. The air went silent. Qi Lianzhou let out a ridiculous laugh. Chung Sui, don't joke like that. Yeah. One of Qi Lianzhou's followers chimed in mockingly. You're rejecting brother Zhou for him. Song Duo, used to such remarks, merely scoffed quietly. I stood up, facing the follower with a smile. What's wrong with him? What right do you have to look down on Song Duo? Aren't you just a bully in school because you suck up to Qi Lianzhou? Turning to Qi Lianzhou, I continued. I said I don't like you, and I meant it. Can you stop bothering me? Even if you're the favored son of heaven, it has nothing to do with me. Is it a crime not to like you? Qi Lianzhou's expression darkened completely. The atmosphere was tense. He glanced at Song Duo as if looking at a dead man, then his gaze returned to my face. After a moment, Qi Lianzhou resumed his calm and composed smile. He spoke to me gently. It's my fault. I was too anxious. I scared you yesterday, didn't I? Let's pretend I didn't say what I just said. You can sit back here whenever you're ready. He probably didn't want to hear what I had to say next. He turned and went back to his seat. A girl, emboldened by Qi Lianzhou's seemingly peaceful demeanor, blushed and mustered the courage to approach him. Can I sit here? I can't see very well from the back. Before she could finish, Qi Lianzhou kicked the empty desk next to him with a bang. He turned to the girl with a smile. Who the hell are you? I silently watched everything unfold. Qi Lianzhou was still the same. His manners and upbringing were only superficial. Once someone offended him, the fragile facade was instantly shattered. I pulled myself out of these thoughts, and as I turned my head, I met Song Duo's gaze. He seemed to have been watching me for a while, using me to avoid Qi Lianzhou. I paused, puzzled. Why would you think that? Then it quickly dawned on me. I'm sorry. It's my fault you didn't feel my affection. Classmate Song. I looked at him earnestly. I really do like you. Do you like me then? He casually turned his head away. No, I don't. Liar. In a past life. He had clearly told me he had liked me for a long time. I understood his concerns. He probably thought I was just saying it casually. I nodded. So, what would make you like me? Song Duo scoffed. I'll never like you. He then put on his hoodie in an irritated manner, giving off a keep-away vibe. I wasn't discouraged in the slightest. I have lived through the future and seen everyone's true heart. The boy beside me always buried his passionate heart deep within an unfathomable abyss. Unreachable for exploration, I was like a little follower of Song Duo. After class, wherever he went, I followed. Are you going to smoke? Song Duo, smoking is bad for your health. How about a candy instead? He always had a cold expression. Are you that free? I nodded. Song Duo. He always looked particularly irritable, but for every candy I offered him, he silently chose it over smoking. One day during a long break, Song Duo pushed back his chair and walked out. As usual, I followed. Song Duo. Are you going to smoke again? He suddenly turned around, his hand on his waistband. He wore a slightly mischievous smile. I'm going to pee. You coming too? I turned and walked away. Song Duo was learning bad habits. Oh no, he was always bad. In a past life, when Song Duo caught a cold, he wouldn't let me kiss him. I insisted on kissing him. So, he deliberately took a drag of his cigarette and blew it into my mouth. I choked and teared up. And only then did he leisurely wipe the tears from my eyes. I told you to stop bothering me. I was always determined to win Song Duo over. I always thought it was just a matter of time, until one day, I noticed something was off. In class, he began to daydream frequently. He unconsciously smiled while looking at his phone. After class, he left his phone on the desk and went out alone. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. The screen lit up. Instinctively, I glanced over. A notification popped up on the lock screen, showing a girl's avatar. If you like it, that's good. My heart sank for a moment. I remembered clearly that besides me, there were no other girls around Song Duo. Despite coming from a modest background, his good looks never left him short of admirers. Yet, Song Duo never paid attention to anyone. During the next 2 classes, I was silent, pondering over one question. Was it the butterfly effect, because I made the first move? Does this life Song Duo not like me anymore? I had to face this possibility. Thinking about Song Duo liking another girl made it hard for me to hold back my sadness. I sniffled. What's wrong? Song Duo noticed something was off with me, put down his phone, and turned to look at me. Who upset you? I lay my head on the desk. covering the lower half of my face with my arm, and mumbled a response. You, Song Duo frowned, seemingly trying to recall. After a while, he finally spoke. I've quit smoking. Oh, so you quitting smoking wasn't for me. It was probably because that girl doesn't like it either, I thought, feeling deflated. After agonizing for a few days, I decided I still had to confront Song Duo. Even if he really had fallen for someone else, there was nothing I could do. I just hoped that this time, he could live a good life. That would be enough for me. After gym class, I saw him walking alone towards the school gate and quickly followed him. The boy walked too fast. Just as I was about to call out to him, I saw him stop in front of a girl. She smiled sweetly at him and handed him a gift box. My hands clenched involuntarily as I stared straight at Song Duo. He didn't hesitate and took it, raising his eyebrows slightly and pulling a smile. He rarely smiled at me like that. Not wanting Song Duo to see me in my current disheveled state, I turned to leave but was unexpectedly pulled into a corner. Qi Lianzhou pressed one hand against the wall and the other gently touched the corner of my eye. Ching Sui, who are you crying for? Don't tell me it's for Song Duo. His voice tried to sound calm but couldn't hide his spite. What's so good about him? He's just an unwanted orphan, living day to day, no different from a vagrant. I didn't hesitate to slap him. Qi Lianzhou, you have no right to talk about him. He turned his face away, holding his cheek and laughing with a hint of anger. Ching Sui, what have I done to make you hate me so much? Haven't I been good enough to you? I can give you anything you want. Qi Lianzhou's voice was soft, but the force he used to pin me against the wall was strong. Are you sick? Qi Lianzhou, let me go. He seemed not to hear me, his dark eyes bottomless with emotion. I felt a bit scared and bit his wrist, finally finding a chance to escape. Madness. In this life, Qi Lianzhou is not only a jerk but also a madman. It wasn't until school ended in the afternoon that I began to come to terms with many things, including accepting the fact that Song Duo doesn't like me. I packed up my things and quietly left with my backpack, so lost in my own thoughts that I didn't notice the glances being cast my way. Just as I exited the school gate, someone called out to me. Ching Sui. I turned around. Song Duo stood there with a cold expression on his face. Was it a lie? What? I was stunned. Your so-called liking. It only lasted for 3 days. I was still trying to make sense of his abrupt question when he approached me, looking down from his greater height. Are you playing me? I'm not. Who is playing who here? Song Duo responded lazily, lifting his hand to caress my chin. Do you still like me? His ambiguous gesture made my ears heat up. And I replied instinctively, I do. Promise me. There was an unresolved determination in his eyes. I promise, I declared emphatically. Song Duo suddenly smiled, dazed. I remembered the girl from today's gym class. Just as I was about to speak, Song Duo handed me a gift box. It was from the girl who had given it to him earlier. Look at it when you get home, he said. Let me say this in advance. Song Duo shifted his gaze, looking somewhat uneasy. I didn't make it myself. I tried but couldn't do it well, so I had the boss make it directly. I blinked, suddenly understanding everything. My mood instantly went from cloudy to sunny. What does giving me this mean? What do you think it means? Pretending not to understand, I said. How would I know if you don't tell me? Song Duo smirked, leaning closer with a drawn-out tone. You say it first. He was so close I could clearly feel his breath. I stammered. I like you. He swallowed the last syllable of my sentence. His kiss was clumsy at first, merely brushing against my lips. Gradually, he became skilled, prying my mouth open for a deep kiss, continuing until I was almost out of breath, but he didn't pull away far. Song Duo rubbed my moist lower lip and whispered, say it again. Dizzy from the kisses, I could only respond as he wanted. I like you. After I spoke, he kissed me again, this time with much more expertise. I don't know how much time passed before Song Duo finally let me go. He looked at me earnestly, eyes filled with sincerity. I was still waiting quietly for him to continue when a harsh screeching sound of brakes filled the air. A bright yellow supercar charged towards us. No, to be precise, it was heading for Song Duo. The moment the headlights flared up, I saw the person inside, Qi Lianzhou. His eyes held a fanatical madness, driven by a determination to kill Song Duo. Just before the collision, Song Duo quickly pulled me back and narrowly avoided the impact. Are you okay? I clung tightly to Song Duo's sleeve, inspecting him from head to toe, interrupting him. How are you feeling? Are you hurt? Did you hit anywhere? Song Duo looked deeply into my eyes, surprised by my exaggerated reaction. After a few seconds, he pulled me into his embrace, his hand gently stroking the back of my head. I'm fine, don't be afraid. I'm only going to say this once. Qi Lianzhou got out of the car and leaned against the door. utterly indifferent to his recent actions. A slight smile curled at the corner of his mouth as he spoke softly. Friend, stay away from Ching Sui. Song Duo met his gaze and pulled me behind him. Otherwise, I have countless ways to make your life miserable, worse than a dog's. This is just a warning. Song Duo, with a challenging lift of his eyebrows, walked up to Qi Lianzhou. And who do you think you are? He was even more arrogant than Qi Lianzhou. Qi, don't try your threats on me. The next second, Song Duo grabbed Qi Lianzhou by the collar and slammed him against the car door, towering over him with a detached look in his eyes. Be more careful when you drive next time. You scared my girlfriend. Qi Lianzhou, struggling to stand, looked somewhat disheveled. You're looking for death. Before he could finish, the sound of police sirens neared. I stepped in front of Qi Lianzhou. Driving without a license and nearly causing an injury, save your warnings for after you get out, I said. Had the police car not already arrived, I truly wanted to slap Qi Lianzhou. Perhaps I was too caught up in the joy of being with Song Duo at the moment. I failed to notice the near madness in Qi Lianzhou's eyes as he watched us walk away, a clear sign of his crumbling sanity. The next day, Qi Lianzhou didn't show up at school, giving me a rare sense of relief. When I sat down, I purposely lifted my arm to show off the bracelet. Last night, I had opened the gift box from Song Duo. It was a bracelet, likely custom-made, with a silver wheat sheaf embedded in the middle. Sway, for wheat sheaf. I unconsciously smiled as I looked at the bracelet in my palm. The wheat sheaf was exquisitely realistic. No wonder Song Duo mentioned that despite his attempts, he couldn't perfect it. Seeing my reaction, Song Duo raised an eyebrow and propped his forehead, watching me. Do you like it? I nodded vigorously. I love it. I love anything from my boyfriend. I knew this was the best gift he could offer at the moment. Regarding the price, all I could do was keep silent. Showing any concern about the cost would only dampen the mood for both of us. Song Duo lazily chuckled and lifted his hand to pinch my earlobe. As the classroom buzzed with noise before morning self-study began, our corner was filled with a different, spreading tender atmosphere. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a girl approaching. Remembering she had asked me several questions before, I pushed Song Duo's hand away. Just a moment, then, turning with a smile to the girl, you wanted to ask, could you please make way? I asked, bewildered as I stood up. The girl, her face flushed and eyes sparkling, looked eagerly at Song Duo. Song Duo, I baked some extra cookies yesterday. Could you try them and tell me how they taste? Great. Even a boyfriend as poor as him is irresistibly charming. I watched Song Duo with a half-smile, but he remained as calm as someone watching a play, returning my gaze nonchalantly as if to say, it has nothing to do with me. Only when my expression turned dark enough to squeeze water out of it did Song Duo finally speak leisurely. Sorry. The girl was taken aback, her face filled with disappointment. My girlfriend doesn't allow it, he said, glancing at me. Following his gaze, the girl looked at me, hesitated for a moment as she understood the situation, and then left with an embarrassed expression without saying a word. You know, even when you grow old, that face of yours will never look tame. I teased Song Duo carefully. More than that, he replied shamelessly, even in death, this face will be unforgettable, believe it or not. I stiffened, feeling a chill run through my veins as the words of Qi Lianzhou from a past life echoed in my mind. He stood in front of my hospital bed with a cold tone. Song Duo lost. He died in a car crash on the mountain, but I promised him, win or lose, that I would provide enough money for your surgery. You can return to school once you're well. It seems I've grown too complacent recently, underestimating the cause of Song Duo's death in my past life, in my previous life. Right after entering the senior year of high school, I was diagnosed with a gastrointestinal stromal tumor, a disease with a mysteriously vague cause attributed to a genetic mutation. After my father died when I was young and my mother remarried and moved away, it was my uncle's family who grudgingly raised me, but after the diagnosis, my uncle found an excuse to move out with his family, leaving me with a house lease that was 2 months away from expiring. I don't blame them. They had already done a lot just by feeding me and raising me. Without money for surgery, I had no choice but to endure until I couldn't anymore and fainted, only to be found by Song Duo. It was supposed to be a plain and sad story of two poor souls comforting each other, but I never expected Song Duo to go to such lengths for me. The surgery only cost 50,000 yuan. For that amount, Song Duo turned to Qi Lianzhou and his wealthy friends, signing a life-or-death contract to race cars, eventually dying in a crash on a desolate mountain. 50,000 yuan bought the life of a reckless young man. Now, looking at the lively expression of the boy in front of me, it suddenly overlapped with the image of him lying breathless in the funeral home. Instinctively, I grabbed his hand. in this life, I absolutely cannot watch him get into trouble again. I can't let him get involved in racing. What's wrong? Song Duo asked, frowning as he held my hand back. Are you feeling unwell? I looked at him, slowly shaking my head, but his words served as a reminder. Although I was only diagnosed in my senior year in the previous life, I still went to the hospital for a checkup the next day. Everything was normal. I'm not sure if due to the butterfly effect I won't fall ill again in this life, but I started preparing a year early anyway. I took part-time jobs in my spare time to save money. Tutoring during the winter and summer vacations should help me save even more. At least this time, I won't let Song Duo risk his life for 50,000 yuan. 16. Chi Lianzhou returned to school. My peaceful days with Song Duo were short-lived. One day, Song Duo did not come to school on time. He didn't reply to my messages either. It wasn't until the second gym class that I heard some rumors. Song Duo is really cursed. His grandmother died. And now he's lost the last relative he had in the world. How do you know that? I heard it today when I went to deliver the attendance sheet to the homeroom teacher. They say she died suddenly. As the words fell, Chi Lianzhou appeared in front of me. Died suddenly. Sue, he said, concern in his eyes. Why do you look so pale? Chi Lianzhou instantly looked panicked, glancing briefly in the direction of my stomach. He made a move to pull me close. Is it? Don't touch me. The air grew tense. I stared blankly at Chi Lianzhou. Song Duo's grandmother passed away. Chi Lianzhou frowned. 2 seconds later, he suddenly looked up at me, his gaze deep and meaningful. What do you mean? The air around us seemed to chill instantly. Ignoring my struggles, Chi Lianzhou pulled me into a secluded corner. Do you suspect me? I silently stared at him. He suddenly chuckled mockingly. Ching Sue, have I been spoiling you too much? He stepped closer leisurely, going after a defenseless old woman. Do you think I'm a beast? I was cornered against the wall. His hand slowly lifted to my neck, his fingers slightly tightened. I immediately struggled to breathe, trying to push his hand away, but Chi Lianzhou was immovable. Cough, cough. Just as I felt overwhelmed by suffocation, he let go. I collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. Chi Lianzhou suddenly came to his senses, kneeling in front of me. Sue, I didn't mean. His rapidly changing expressions were like those of someone with severe schizophrenia. No, I instinctively shrank back. Chi Lianzhou's outstretched hand hung in the air. After a moment, it dropped. He stood up quietly and turned to leave. His steps halted. His silhouette bore a trace of loneliness and helplessness. Believe it or not, I really didn't intend to do anything to you just now. Ching Sue, no matter what, I would never hurt you. Chi Lianzhou seemed to sigh. 17. As reason returned, I suddenly remembered, in my past life, during senior year of high school, Song Duo's grandmother was already gone. It was probably really just an accident. Right after school at noon, I rushed out of the school gates to Song Duo's house. His grandmother had already been taken to the crematorium. Only Song Duo was there, sitting on the steps, light and shadows cast on the wall above his head. Tiny dust particles settled on his shoulders. Even his shadow seemed somewhat lonely. Song Duo. He turned around, his eyes slightly red. My heart ached instantly. His eyes drooped, suppressing all emotions. His voice was soft and hoarse. Sue, I have no family left now. This was the first time the usually bold and unrestrained Song Duo showed his vulnerable side in front of me. I sat down beside Song Duo. At a loss for words, I simply placed my hand in his, holding it quietly. Through this action, I told him, you still have me. At the beginning of our second year of high school, that early autumn, Song Duo and I were left with just each other again. Fortunately, I had come to his side a year earlier. This time, our roles were reversed. I comforted Song Duo, preventing him from silently enduring everything again. I helped Song Duo slowly emerge from the shadow of a family member's death. At the same time, I had to stay wary of Chi Lianzhou's occasional outbursts. It wasn't until his beloved Yu Tian finally transferred to our class that I could breathe a sigh of relief. Chi Lianzhou would likely shift all his attention to Yu Tian. He wouldn't cling to me and Song Duo anymore. However, events took a different turn from my past life. Chi Lianzhou almost completely ignored Yu Tian, and instead, continued to focus intently on me. One day after school, I was cornered by him alone. Chi Lianzhou, what exactly do you want? I felt quite powerless. His response was mild, yet eerily calm. Like the calm before a storm. Sui, no matter what I do now, it seems I can't change your determination to be with him. But do you believe that I have a feeling that you two won't last long? Sooner or later, Song Duo will no longer be a barrier between us, and you will ultimately be mine. I had a suspicion deep down. but I dared not think too much about it. Later, not long after advancing to our third year, my suspicion was confirmed. I wasn't the only one who had been reborn. Qi Lianzhou had been reborn too. In the second term of our second year, Song Duo had completely given up on studying and frequently took leaves of absence. He admitted that he truly had no talent for academics. As for what he was doing instead, he kept his lips sealed. During lunch one day, a question suddenly struck me. Why don't you just drop out altogether? Isn't it tiring to keep running back and forth from school? Song Duo scoffed, while scooping the plump dumplings from his bowl into mine. He said leisurely, if I'm not at school, what would you do if that Qi guy starts pestering you? I found myself unable to refute. In the time that followed, I noticed that Song Duo frequently had new injuries before the old ones had healed. I knew that if I asked Song Duo, he wouldn't say anything, so I decided to follow him the next time he went out. Brother Duo, another batch came in today, all assembled goods. They don't look safe. Song Duo, dressed in his racing suit and holding his helmet, came out. How would we know without trying? These rich kids are generous with money, but I can't risk my life testing these assembled cars. Maybe you should earn this money instead. Brother Duo. Song Duo didn't say much, just about to put on his helmet and get into the racing car. Song Duo. I finally spoke up. He stopped in his tracks. After 2 seconds, he put down his helmet and turned to walk towards me. Watching Song Duo approach, the realization hit me too late. Despite my best efforts to change things, it seemed to have little effect. Song Duo had still ended up involved in racing during our second year. By some twist of fate, I can't describe the feeling I had when I saw Song Duo walking out in his racing suit. It was a sense of desolation, heavier than resignation, a profound silence. It felt like a long unresolved matter had finally reached a conclusion. Even if the outcome was less than satisfactory, I still chose to endure and go with the flow. Song Duo started school late and is now 18, with a driver's license. He repeatedly promised that he wouldn't keep testing new race cars for others forever. He said he'd stop as soon as he saved enough startup capital. Sometimes, when I finished my homework early, I would go to the club and wait for Song Duo to go home together. Yet, there were moments when seeing him in his racing suit briefly made my heart flutter. On that Saturday, on the way to the club with Song Duo. How much more do you need to save before you can stop testing cars? I sighed. Song Duo pulled my hand into his pocket. 50,000 more. I stopped in my tracks. That number sounded all too familiar. What's wrong? Song Duo also stopped and casually stroked my cheek with his hand. Sometimes, I feel like you're weighed down by heavy thoughts, but when I ask, you don't say anything. Suddenly coming back to my senses, I reached for his shoulders and tiptoed to give him a kiss. It just seems like a lot of money. As it turned out, my concerns were valid. Upon entering the club, it was busier than usual. Brother Duo, there's a race today, no rush for testing. I looked up to see the person surrounded by a crowd. Qi Lianzhou. I couldn't help feeling anxious and began pulling Song Duo to leave. Stop, a boy's voice rang out calmly. I ignored it, wanting only to take Song Duo away, but this time, it was Song Duo who stopped himself. Sway sway, his tone was light. Why do you always try to hide me from him? I was stunned. From the beginning, I had always looked at things from the perspective of someone who had seen the future, just blindly trying to keep Song Duo away from Qi Lianzhou, but I had ignored how Song Duo felt. In his eyes, I was acting out of fear because I thought he was inferior to Qi Lianzhou. Before I could speak, Qi Lianzhou scoffed, because she knows you're nothing. He casually tossed his helmet, his eyes brimming with mirth. She's afraid I'll kill you. Do you get it now? Qi Lianzhou. What is this? I really wanted to slap him. Are you bullying others because you can, relying on his family background to bully others recklessly? In a way, describing Qi Lianzhou as bullying others because he can was not wrong. No, who are you to talk to Brother Qi like that? People in the club who flattered Qi Lianzhou tried their best to show off in front of him. Song Duo lifted his chin and looked at that person. Are you looking for trouble? Huh. Song Duo was well known in the club for his fearless money-making. The man dared not provoke Song Duo and shut up sullenly. Qi Lianzhou still wore a smile after I scolded him. His gaze stayed on me, but he spoke to the man from before. She can scold. I frowned. Qi Lianzhou's voice suddenly softened. Sway sway. This is the first time in 2 months you've spoken to me directly, weirdo. It was the first time I saw someone getting excited by being scolded. Have you heard from the club that you're really short on money? Song Duo snorted with a laugh but didn't respond. Qi Lianzhou raised an eyebrow. Feeling lucky, he threw 2 stacks of bills on the bar. 50,000 for 1 round, whispers of astonishment spread around the room. Under normal circumstances, the most one could win from a race around the mountain was 5,000. Qi Lianzhou was offering 10 times that. Song Duo propped his chin up, lifting his eyelids slightly. Let's hear your terms. Qi Lianzhou lit a cigarette with a smile. Through the swirling smoke, I could almost see the excitement in his eyes. Reach the finish line within 15 minutes. The air went suddenly still. The club's record time was 19 minutes. 15 minutes was simply impossible. Qi Lianzhou was practically sending Song Duo to his death on that mountain. A chill ran down my spine. The truth I had always been reluctant to admit was now unveiled before me. 50,000, a car race. Such coincidences were almost too aligned with a past life. Qi Lianzhou, like me, had returned from another life. This time, he wanted history to repeat itself. To have Song Duo die on that desolate mountain again. I took a deep breath and reached for Song Duo's hand. Can we just leave, please? Song Duo looked down at me, unmoving. I'm begging you, Song Duo, let's just go. My words were rushed and desperate, barely holding back tears. Sway. I cut him off. Don't say anything, just come with me, please, don't agree to it. I'm begging you. Song Duo pulled me into his arms. I sobbed quietly, unsure what to do. He whispered soothingly in my ear, Sway, this is the last time. After this, I'll never race again. No, Song Duo, don't go. Suddenly, a loud crash interrupted us. I looked up from Song Duo's embrace. A shattered helmet lay at Qi Lianzhou's feet. How much longer will you hug? Song Duo rubbed the back of my head. Wait for me to return. There was no room for negotiation. With the 50,000. Song Duo wouldn't have to come back to this place and risk everything again. Otherwise, it would take at least another 2 or 3 months. Wait, I stopped everyone. I demand a full inspection of all the critical parts of the car. That was the biggest concession I could make. Qi Lianzhou scoffed and shook his head. As you wish. Song Duo went to change into his racing suit and get ready. While waiting at the door, Qi Lianzhou approached. You want an on-site car inspection, afraid I'm out to harm him. My gaze pierced through him as if trying to see right through him. Qi Lianzhou, if anything happens to Song Duo, I will fight you with everything I have. I was so calm it scared even myself. Song Duo was taking a desperate gamble. So was I. I knew it wasn't just for the 50,000. Part of it was because he refused to show weakness against Qi Lianzhou. Qi Lianzhou's smile stiffened. Ching Sui. You really did it. As Song Duo finished changing his clothes and came out, Qi Lianzhou had already left. I couldn't care about anything else, just kept repeating, you know, we don't absolutely need this 50,000 yuan. Please don't risk your life gambling for it. Song Duo, look at me. I've been here waiting for you. You can't just leave me alone, right? You are the most important person to me in this world. You cannot die. Song Duo nodded, bowed slightly, and gently kissed my forehead. I know, I thought, it really is different. This 50,000 yuan isn't just life-saving money anymore. Song Duo would not gamble his life for it. What I didn't expect was that Qi Lianzhou would suddenly decide to participate. Both cars started at the same time, leaving only a roar behind. 15 minutes is just the length of a few songs, but for the first time, it felt incredibly long. The race was broadcasted live. Qi Lianzhou's car was close on the tail of Song Duo's but never managed to overtake. The competition was thrilling, everyone's eyes glued to the monitors. At the 14th minute, I finally saw Song Duo's car. Qi Lianzhou was still behind him, tried a few times to overtake, but Song Duo blocked him each time. The finish line was in sight, and Qi Lianzhou became restless. The roaring grew louder as he sped up dramatically on the last bend. Damn, is Qi going crazy? Overtaking on a bend is both an opportunity and a risk. The last stretch of the road was out of the camera's view. Everyone gathered at the finish line, watching intently. Who do you think will win? Qi, probably, with that overtaking move. I think so too. The broadcaster's tone, initially serious, suddenly became excited. Damn, this exclamation echoed around the venue. Then, a car appeared in everyone's view. 3 seconds later, a sprint. It was Song Duo. He finished in 14 minutes and 57 seconds. He got out of the car, threw his helmet onto the passenger seat, his black hair slightly damp, his eyes exceptionally bright. What are you staring at? Song Duo teased me with a cocky smirk. Your boyfriend won. I rushed into his arms, my tense nerves finally relaxing at that moment. Yes, you won. The thing I had been most worried about since my rebirth had finally passed. Still, worried about whether Song Duo was scratched. I immediately pulled him towards the changing room. Ching Sui, behind us. Qi Lianzhou's voice broke out for the first time in a desperate tone. Are you completely ignoring me now? I hadn't just ignored the voices behind me. Qi Lianzhou's attempt to overtake had failed, resulting in him scraping against the mountain wall. He probably got slightly injured, but what does that have to do with me? I didn't want to deal with that madman, but Song Duo had had enough. He turned around, quickly walked up to Qi Lianzhou, grabbed his collar, and delivered a clean punch. Qi Lianzhou leaned against his car, preventing a fall. Last warning. Stay away from my girlfriend. I remembered the scenes where he made things difficult for Song Duo and couldn't help but walk over, looking at the disheveled boy. I hate you, Qi Lianzhou, I said, exasperated. Stop bothering me. You're making me feel like. I paused, searching for the right words. A mangy dog. It's really off-putting. Qi Lianzhou looked at me for a long time, uncharacteristically choosing not to argue this time. Fine. His eyes lowered, concealing any emotion. I get it, he said, his voice somewhat hoarse. After a moment, Qi Lianzhou silently straightened up, leaning on his arms, and walked away with a limp. I watched him for a couple more seconds. Somehow, I had a feeling, this time, Qi Lianzhou had truly let go. Song Duo had managed to gather enough funds and decided to formally drop out as soon as his senior year of high school started. He began to get very busy. Sometimes, he would force himself to pick me up from school, and the exhaustion was clearly visible under his eyes. Qi Lianzhou disappeared from my life for a long while. The next time I heard about him, he had been hospitalized for a long time. He must have some strange illness. Even the doctors can't figure out what it is, but he's getting weaker by the day, I was told. Just then, I received a call from Qi Lianzhou. After a moment's hesitation, I answered. You remember everything, don't you? I asked, knowing since I found out that Qi Lianzhou was also reborn, he would eventually suspect me. Yes, I replied. I thought he might ask me to visit him, but instead, we just chatted casually over the phone. Ching Sui, did you ever actually like me? His voice was so emotionless, he already knew the answer. Yet he asked anyway. Yes, that day at the club, my friend said Song Duo's profile looked somewhat like mine, and I figured it out immediately. Ching Sui, you saw me as a stand-in, you deceived me for 3 years. Hearing his accusatory tone, I couldn't help but laugh. Aren't you the same? Didn't you confess to me because I resembled you, Tian? There was silence on the other end for 2 seconds. Then, Qi Lianzhou's voice, weaker than before, came through. Yes. If it weren't for your face resembling you Tian's, I wouldn't have given you a second glance. Sick. He's ill and still calls just to belittle me. Do you have anything else? If not, I'm hanging up. Silence from the other end. Qi Lianzhou, losing patience and unsure of what he was up to. I hung up the phone. Song Duo was actually very smart. By the time I graduated from high school, he had turned his initial earnings into countless more. The boy who could once only afford a silver chain, a year later, put a diamond bracelet on my wrist as my graduation gift. 4 years later, upon my college graduation, he became the youngest entrepreneur on the city's ranking list. His net worth had multiplied many times over. Wow. I scrolled through the list on my pad. Song Duo, you're the handsomest one here. The man scoffed lazily. Most of these guys are in their 40s and 50s. You're comparing me with them. Unconvinced, I continued scrolling. Indeed, I came across another handsome man just 2 years older than him. No, look, this one is just 2 years older than you, and he's handsome too. He looks like a polished scoundrel. Song Duo came over, pulled the tablet from my hands, and stopped my browsing. That's enough. Then he bent down and picked me up, his face expressionless. It's time to sleep. I should have known better than to believe you. Song Duo's idea of sleeping was never just sleep. Standing in front of the nighttime floor-to-ceiling windows, I leaned on my hands. At first, Song Duo stood behind me, then he turned me around and held me in his arms. In the moment the fireworks exploded, the man in front of me seemed to merge with the boy from years ago. His eyes and brows carried a trace of youthful spirit. He said, Ching Sui, it's time we had a home. I collapsed, exhausted, resting on his shoulder, but my mind was clear. So I wrapped my arms around his neck and whispered in his ear, then let's get married. The quiet night outside the window settled my long turbulent heart at that moment. This was the ending I had waited 2 lifetimes for. Extra story. Do you have anything else? If not, I'm hanging up. Qi Lianzhou was about to speak when a suffocating sensation hit his chest. Qi Lianzhou, Ching Sui urged from the other end of the phone. He couldn't utter a word, lying on the hospital bed gasping for air. The call ended without him being able to say another word to her. He knew he was about to die. It was a pity he hadn't had the chance to properly say goodbye to Ching Sui. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. The same goes for being reborn. No one gets to live again for free. It was a life-for-life exchange. Ching Sui's chance to be reborn was bought by Qi Lianzhou with his own life. After Ching Sui died in the earthquake, Qi Lianzhou lived in a haze. He spent his days in regret. Unable to save her, one day, on his way back from buying alcohol, he stumbled upon a fortune-teller's stall. As if compelled by fate, Qi Lianzhou went for a reading. The fortune-teller spoke calmly. There is a way to remedy what you regret, a life for a life. If Ching Sui lives, Qi Lianzhou must die. The man nodded without hesitation, surprising the fortune-teller with his resolve. Perhaps it was his determination that softened the fortune-teller's heart a bit. He then gave Qi Lianzhou a chance to be reborn, but only for a year. After a year, he would die of a sudden illness. I frowned, stepping back with a wary look. So, he rushed to confess his feelings to Ching Sui, cherishing every second he spent with her. But things didn't go as hoped. In this lifetime, Ching Sui didn't want him, or perhaps, she had never truly liked him. After realizing he was just a stand-in, Qi Lianzhou, despite his leg injury, drank a lot. While drunk, he wanted to call Ching Sui to confirm his suspicions, but instead, he became even more cowardly. He passively avoided confronting the issue. As death approached, Qi Lianzhou suddenly saw many things in a new light. Initially, after being reborn, he wanted to eliminate anyone who coveted Ching Sui. Now he thought again, it didn't matter. He was about to die, to go after Song Duo, who would look after her then. Qi Lianzhou felt his body deteriorating. He sensed his impending death. Unable to control his longing, he made one last call to Ching Sui. Unable to properly say goodbye, he lost his ability to speak and breathed his last. Qi Lianzhou died with regrets. The last thing he said to Ching Sui was out of spite. Meanwhile, Ching Sui, oblivious, ended the call. She quickly forgot about it and went to dinner with Song Duo. She knew she finally had the chance to change Song Duo's fate, but she would never know that this opportunity was exchanged for by Qi Lianzhou with his life. Story 2. The day after I accepted the confession from the man of my dreams, I found myself transported 10 years into the future. Upon opening my eyes, a child with big, grape-like eyes timidly called me Mom. Later, I found our wedding photo in a dusty storage room. To my surprise, the groom in the photo wasn't the man of my dreams, but him. 1. I woke up and found myself 10 years into the future, lying in an unfamiliar bed. As I lay there, bewildered and unsure of what to do, suddenly a small figure darted into the room. I immediately pretended to be asleep, lying still on the spot. Footsteps approached slowly, and then a soft little hand touched my forehead. The child's young voice babbled on about recent meals and playtimes. While I was trying to figure out my relationship with this child, his next words shocked me into opening my eyes. He said, "Mom, you've been sick for several days now. Why aren't you waking up? You might not like the soup, but I miss you so much. Please wake up, Mom, Mom." This child was calling me Mom. I instantly opened my eyes wide. At the bedside, a child with big eyes and a small mouth looked at me in terror. Before I could say anything, the child scurried away. Oh my God, to think that just last night I had accepted a confession from my crush, and now to wake up to a child this grown, too. After the child ran off, I immediately picked up my phone and called my old friend Jining. I had no idea what I had been through over these 10 years. My phone was depressingly empty of information. Even former friends had disappeared from my contacts. After several rings, Jining finally answered. "What do you want?" Her voice was colder than I'd ever heard. I scratched my face, her aloofness leaving me at a loss for words. Seeing that I wasn't speaking, Jining became impatient. "Yaoanan, why aren't you talking? Didn't you say you'd never contact me again?" Wow, what on earth did I do in these 10 years? I thought for a moment and then said, "Ning Ning, I know you're cold, but let's skip that for now. I just want to ask, who is my husband?" That was my most pressing concern. Jining paused for a moment, then said, "Yaoanan, did you forget to take your medication today?" Huh. Jining has learned to insult people indirectly over the years. I'm serious. Did you forget your medication? Never mind, just wait at home. I'm in line for a nucleic acid test. I'll come to you later. Jining's tone was quite serious. Maybe I didn't time travel. Maybe I'm ill. And what's this nucleic acid test that requires queuing? 3. Just as I put down the phone, a nanny-looking lady knocked on my door, cautiously asking if I was feeling better and if I wanted something to eat. It seemed my unseen husband was quite wealthy. I nodded. And soon a series of exquisite dishes were laid before me. I never imagined that 10 years later, I would be living the life I'd always dreamed of. I tentatively inquired about my husband. The lady looked surprised and only mentioned that my husband was on a business trip and wouldn't be back until next month. That was good news. By the time he returned, I would probably have adjusted to the situation. I picked up my chopsticks and started to indulge, and to be honest, it was all food I loved. Suddenly, I caught a glimpse of the child peeking through the door. Thinking this might be my son, my eyes lit up, and I beckoned, "Hey kid, come here." He flinched, then approached the bedside with a timid expression. Why did this child seem a bit afraid of me? I wonder if I ended up marrying a rich man and became a stepmother. Scratching my head, I asked in the gentlest voice I could muster, "Kid, what's your name? How old are you this year?" The child's chubby face was filled with a sense of grievance, seemingly baffled that a mother could forget her child's name. "Mommy, my name is Zhou, and my nickname is Tong Tong. I'm 4.5 years old, Zhou. It seems I really didn't end up with my dream guy after all," I continued. "Tong Tong, let me test you. What is your dad's name?" "My daddy is called Tong Tong." "There you are. It's time to go downstairs for your studies. Don't disturb the ladies' rest." An aunt suddenly appeared at the door, interrupting Tong Tong's response. "Lady, I'm so sorry, I wasn't watching Tong Tong closely. I'll take him downstairs now." The aunt hurried over, trembling, and pulled Tong Tong away. I was somewhat confused and could only nod in response. Ever since I woke up, the attitude of this aunt has been strange, as if I were some kind of terrible monster. Since I couldn't find out my husband's name, I decided to look for clues myself. The bedroom was luxuriously decorated, yet there were no wedding photos or signs of another person living there. Could this be the legendary husband who sends money every month but never comes home? As I stepped out of the room, I realized it was a two-story Western-style house. Downstairs, Tong Tong was quietly leaning against the floor-to-ceiling windows playing with a puzzle, the sunlight scattered across the floor, his long eyelashes casting shadows, making him look so well-behaved and instantly melting my heart. I quickly approached him, startling him. "Son, what are you playing with? Let mommy join you." Tong Tong looked up with wide eyes and immediately stood up as if he was being punished, timidly saying, "Mommy." I pulled him close and planted a kiss on his pale cheek. He touched his face, a look of surprise on his features. Watching his series of reactions, I could guess that 10 years from now, I might not be very fond of this child. Fortunately, Tong Tong was young and bore no grudges. I played with him for a while, and he happily began to share his puzzle with me. "Son, do you only have puzzles to play with? Kids his age usually have lots of toys." Tong Tong glanced at me cautiously and said, "Mommy used to say the other toys were too noisy and would get angry." "Great. It seems I really have issues 10 years from now." Just then, the doorbell rang. It was Jining. When Jining entered, I barely recognized her. Was this the tomboyish childhood friend I knew? Not only had she grown out her hair, but she also sported large wavy curls and her makeup was impeccably done. I exaggeratedly widened my eyes and said, "Gorgeous, who are you?" Jining rolled her eyes at me. Tong Tong, however, seemed very familiar with her, immediately running up and calling out, "Auntie Ji." Jining patted Tong Tong on the head and said to me, "Let's go upstairs to talk." I quickly led her back to the bedroom and before she could start, I relayed everything from the beginning. After listening, Jining frowned and scrutinized me, delivering a soul-searching question. "How do you know you've time-traveled, and not just lost your memory?" I remember the last meal I had before time-traveling was tomato beef stew in the school cafeteria, fragrant. I remember that 2 days before I crossed over. I had just taken an exam and I still remember the questions. If I really had amnesia, it's unlikely I would remember such details for 10 years. Jining raised an eyebrow but remained silent. She understood me as well as she knew herself. Feeling a bit embarrassed, I pursed my lips and said, "Well, the day before, I had just accepted Jiangji's confession." Jining's smile drooped suddenly, and she let out a cold chuckle. Then she rattled off everything that had happened over the past 10 years. It turned out that 10 years later, I really was ill. I had bipolar disorder, and the reason for my illness was that my ex-boyfriend, Jiangji, had cheated on me. Jining said that after Jiangji and I got together, although he seemed nice to me on the surface, he was actually manipulating me behind my back. By the time she noticed something was wrong with me, it was too late. Later, Jiangji falsely accused Jining of seducing him, and in my confused state, I ended our friendship. At the age of 27, I was dumped by Jiangji, and his new girlfriend was my college roommate. Unable to bear it, I developed bipolar disorder. Damn, that's just too tragic. I rubbed my forehead, lamenting. This was like the tragic first half of Yaoanan's life, and my current husband, that was what concerned me the most at the moment. Jining looked at me, paused for a moment before saying, "It's Zhou Shijin." What? I never dreamed that 10 years later, I would end up marrying Zhou Shijin. Jining, Zhou Shijin, and I could be described as childhood friends who grew up together. We all lived in the same building as kids and attended the same school. Zhou Shujin was always the legendary kid from someone else's family, handsome, academic, and morally upright, helping old ladies cross the road, giving up his seat for old men. When I was younger, the more my parents praised him, the more I found him annoying. But being superficial, I couldn't help but stare at him, often making him blush. Once I outgrew my childish phase and started experiencing early romantic feelings, I did harbor some thoughts about him, but there were too many people who liked him, and I could only admire him from afar. Even though he showed some different feelings towards me, I only saw it as childhood friendship, especially since he later went abroad. Now, Jining told me that Zhou Shujin had married me. This shock was comparable to the national football team making it to the World Cup. In a flash, another question crossed my mind. Old Ning, Tang Tang is 4.5 years old this year, and Jiang Ji and I broke up when I was 27, so who is Tang Tang's father? Ji Ning looked at me uncomfortably and said, we had fallen out at the time, so I could only gather information about you through others. I heard, you and Zhou Shujin were caught in bed by Jiang Ji, but honestly, I don't know about Tang Tang. The amount of information was overwhelming, my CPU was overloaded, meaning, I might have been pregnant with someone else's child when I married Zhou Shujin. This guess made my vision go dark. No wonder there were only traces of my life in the room. Zhou Shujin probably despised me. Since that was the case, why would he agree to marry me? Wait, that doesn't make sense. Ning Ning, Jiangji cheated. How could Zhou Shujin and I end up being caught by him? Even if I could do such a thing, Zhou Shujin wasn't that kind of person, Jining said. I'm not clear on the details. It seems Jiangji broke up with you first, but you absolutely refused, and then he turned the tables on you and Zhou Shujin by seizing the opportunity to counterattack. 8. The plot is so surreal. I touched my face and said, I feel like I have a kind of beautiful absence of brainstem. Jining patted me. Accept reality, sister. After being manipulated, you've turned brainless. But, Anan, speaking from the heart, whether you have amnesia or have traveled through time, I have only one thing to say, be nicer to Tang Tang. I won't interfere with your issues with Zhou Shujin, but the child is really pitiful. Zhou Shujin is busy with work, spending half the year away from home. You originally didn't like Tang Tang and didn't care for him at all. I cried. Dad might be a fake dad, but mom is definitely a real mom. Angel baby Tang Tang, in the time to come. Please feel the fiery love of a mother. Nun. 9. I had just finished making a checklist for a motherhood plan. In a couple of days, little Tang Tang went off to kindergarten. It turned out he was previously on summer vacation. Normally, like Tang Tang's private kindergarten, they don't have to take holidays, but most children come from affluent families, and many parents want to take the time to travel with their kids. Thinking of Tang Tang playing with puzzles alone downstairs that day, my heart felt like I had swallowed a lemon. I planned to definitely take Tang Tang out to play in a couple of days. At dinner, Tang Tang sat swinging his little legs on the chair, telling me about his day at kindergarten. After a few days together, he was no longer so afraid of me. At bedtime, Tang Tang rarely asked to sleep with me. He wore his dinosaur pajamas, lying obediently beside me. Mom, tell a story. I took the book and made up a story. Once upon a time, there was a snow-white prince. After hearing the story, Tang Tang said with a smile, Tang Tang is the Snow-White Prince, Mom is the princess, and Tang Tang will marry Mom in the future. I teased him, but Mom has Dad. Alas, Tang Tang can't marry Mom. Unexpectedly, just as I finished speaking, Tang Tang's mood suddenly dropped. Right, ever since I traveled here, I've never heard Tang Tang bring up Zhou Shujin. Could it be that Zhou Shujin hasn't been good to him? So I tentatively asked, don't you like Dad? Tang Tang shook his head frantically. I like Dad, it's just, his look became cautious, clearly indicating that it was me who didn't like Zhou Shujin. That's hardly possible. 10. That day, after the aunt took Tang Tang to school, I started to organize some junk. Unexpectedly, I found a wedding photo in the corner of the storage room. In the photo, my expression was wooden, like a soulless puppet, while Zhou Shujin, although smiling, had a trace of melancholy in his eyes. It was so unflattering that I instinctively wanted to flip the photo over, but then I heard a clang. A small box that was tucked behind the photo fell to the ground. Curious, I opened it to find Tang Tang's birth certificate, a note I had once passed to Zhou Shujin in class, and a love letter. It was from 16-year-old Zhou Shujin to 16-year-old Jiaonan. In that moment, I couldn't quite identify my feelings. It felt like a dish of vinegary bitter melon, full of sourness and regret. The love letter was 16 years overdue. I stared blankly for a long while before nonchalantly putting it back in its place. 11. At the kindergarten gate, teachers were leading groups of little ones. It seems children have a special ability to spot their parents in a crowd instantly. When Tang Tang saw me, his eyes lit up, and he waddled over like a little duck. Looking up, his little face flushed. He said, "Thank you, Mom, for coming to pick me up." My heart instantly melted. From now on, Mom will come to pick you up from school every day. Can you also drop me off that morning? I firmly shook my head. "Sweetie, Mommy can't get up early in the morning." Just then, a little girl ran over and asked me, "Auntie, are you Zhou Yu's mom?" I nodded. The little girl looked me over and complimented, "Auntie, you are so beautiful, but why haven't you ever picked up Zhou Yu before? His classmates say you don't like him." Before I could reply, Tang Tang clenched the corner of my clothes, slightly annoyed, and said, "Don't talk nonsense, my mom loves me." The little girl looked at me and then at Tang Tang, seeming a bit at a loss. I quickly calmed them down. After returning home, I noticed that Tang Tang seemed a bit down, so I bought him a lot of snacks that I love and promised to give him a big gift for his birthday. Tang Tang looked at me with anticipation and said, "That's great. Dad also said he would come back." Oh dear. I just saw a love letter today and wasn't sure how to face Zhou Shujin yet, and he's coming back already. That evening, I planned to follow the motherly duties checklist and help Tang Tang take a bath, but he absolutely refused. Blinking his big eyes seriously, he said, "I have my privacy, Mom doesn't, and I'm almost 5 years old, I can wash by myself." I pinched his chubby little hands and said, "Really? Shampoo might get in your eyes and hurt, and you are still only 4.5. After hesitating for a moment, Tang Tang decided to accept his mom's help, but he blushed and covered himself throughout the process. Soon, it was Tong Tong's birthday. He was more excited than ever. Unfortunately, the weather was not kind. Just after noon, it started to pour heavily. Zhou Shujin was supposed to arrive by afternoon flight, but it was uncertain if he could make it on time, so I called Tang Tang over to open his presents as he eagerly looked out the window. I had prepared 5 gifts, hoping to make up for the previous neglect of his birthday. Tang Tang, still a child, quickly became engulfed in the joy of his new toys. When Zhou Shujin entered, I was playing with Tang Tang in an electric toy car. "Mom, it's my turn. You said just a little while. Be good, son. Mommy will play a bit longer." Hearing the door, we instinctively looked towards it. Outside was a pouring rain, and Zhou Shujin arrived, his suit mostly wet. Tang Tang excitedly ran to him calling out, "Daddy," but he looked up at me. Our eyes met across the room, and my heart pounded. Even though I hadn't traveled through time, it had been nearly 2 years since I'd last seen Zhou Shujin. I have to admit, him with glasses and a suit wet through was like a scene out of my dreams. Handsome man. Glasses, wet suit, who would understand? I snapped back to reality and greeted him stammeringly. Zhou Shujin, however, took off his wet coat and came straight over to give me a hug. I was stunned. Wasn't this moving a bit too fast? He whispered in my ear, "Anan, I'm back." I resisted the urge to rub my ears and immediately hugged him back. After all, between husband and wife, how could it be taking advantage? Zhou Shujin had just changed his clothes and come downstairs. I scratched my face. The birthday song I had planned to sing was brewing in my mind for a while, but I never opened my mouth to start. Tang Tang keenly glanced at me, then looked at his dad, then he loudly made a wish. "I hope I can sleep with Mom and Dad tonight." I pursed my lips. "Good child, truly like you." However, Zhou Shujin glanced at me and said to Tang Tang, "Once a wish is spoken, it won't come true." His reaction instantly dampened my enthusiasm. I had forgotten, Tang Tang might not be his son. I'm not one to procrastinate, so while Tang Tang was away, I directly said, "Zhou Shujin, we need to talk." As soon as the words left my mouth, his expression darkened. "I'm tired, whatever it is, we can talk about it tomorrow." He had just hugged me when he entered, and now he turned around with a cold expression. "When I take a shower later, I'll just unplug your water heater." From the next day, Zhou Shujin began avoiding me. Every day when I got up, he had already gone to work. "What time do you wake up?" In the coffee shop, Jining looked at me suspiciously. I touched my nose. "Waking up at 9 isn't that normal?" Jining asked me if I liked Zhou Shujin. I sipped my coffee, disguising my emotions. Initially, when Jiangji pursued me, I agreed because he was considerate, handsome, but the feelings for Zhou Shujin were different. Jining rolled her eyes. "If you ask me, it's all Zhou Shujin's fault. If he wasn't so secretly troubled, there wouldn't be any issues with that jerk." Yes, she's right. Rather than blaming oneself, it's easier to disparage others. I was about to continue chatting with Jining when suddenly my phone rang. 20 minutes later, I was at the kindergarten gate. The reason was simple. I was called in as a parent. In the office, Tang Tang had a stubborn look on his face. Another child was crying loudly. The teacher told me that Tang Tang had struck first, pushing the other child down. The child had scraped his hand, and his parents had been notified. I asked for the reason. Tang Tang looked at me pitifully, then buried his head in my chest and murmured, "He insulted Mom and didn't apologize. Why would that child insult me out of the blue?" At that moment, the other child's parents arrived, loudly exclaiming, "Who dares to bully my son?" It was a couple. The man gave me a sleazy look. The woman immediately got upset, picked up her son, and began accusing, "You are Zhou Yu's mom. I'm telling you this isn't over. You think you can bully my son?" I raised an eyebrow and replied, "It was wrong for Zhou Yu to push him, but it was your son who was rude first." Seeing someone backing him up, the other child stopped crying, his eyes shifted, and he blurted out, "I didn't insult anyone. Zhou Yu's mom is pretty, just that she's a homewrecker fox spirit. Children don't understand the concept of a homewrecker. He must have picked that up from adults, little friend. Do you know that children who insult others might have their tongues bitten off by the big bad wolf while sleeping?" The child immediately shut his mouth. The woman, with a mean face, said, "He's just a child. Why are you scaring him? My husband is the general manager of a big company, so what if our child cursed at you a few times?" She looked at me disdainfully and added, "Besides, the child wasn't wrong, not seeing him around before. Who knows what job he does?" Mimicking her tone. I took a good look at her and retorted, "Truly, ugly face, foul mouth. No wonder the child spews such filth. It seems like there's daily barking at home. Who are you calling a dog?" Before I could react, she attempted to rush over and grab my child, Tang Tang, from my arms. "Little brat, come here and apologize to my son." I dodged to the side, and seeing the situation escalate, the teacher immediately tried to intervene. As the scene grew more chaotic, the woman seized the moment to slap me across the face. Just then, a hand suddenly reached out and firmly grabbed the woman's arm. "Are you here to solve the problem, or are you here to hit someone?" Zhou Shujin frowned, his expression grim. The man, who had been enjoying the drama, suddenly widened his eyes and stuttered, "Boss Zhou." He hurriedly pulled his wife away, starting to apologize frantically. Zhou Shujin remarked, "What a coincidence. It's Mr. Chen." It turned out that this so-called general manager of a big company was just a supplier that Zhou Shujin's company was currently negotiating with. He was known for his questionable lifestyle, and his wife often cursed everything at home, leading their child astray. Zhou Shujin raised his hand, interrupting them. "Mr. Chen wasn't so cooperative just now, and rather than solving anything, it seemed more like he came to watch the show. Had I not intervened, my wife would have been slapped. I heard it was Zhou Yu who pushed your son. Let's have him checked at the hospital. We will cover all medical expenses, but before that, shouldn't Mr. Chen and his family apologize to my wife and son?" The couple immediately started nodding and bowing. I disliked their behavior in front of the child, so I took Tang Tang and left. Upon arriving home, I thought it was a good time to talk with Zhou Shujin. He immediately said, "I have to go back to the company." "Not so fast," at my signal. Zhou Tang Tang rushed over and hugged his dad's leg. Zhou Shujin frowned and said, "If it's about divorce, let's not talk about it in front of Tang Tang." I rolled my eyes, grabbed him, and pulled him into the room. I turned around and pinned him against the door. His heroic act just now was somewhat charming. I looked up at him and softly called, "Husband." Zhou Shujin's eyebrows didn't move, but his face turned as red as a steamed crab. My face also felt hot, and after a light cough, I began to explain about the time travel. After a while, he said, "Although it's hard to believe, it does make sense. Since Tongtong's birthday, I sensed something was off, and thought it was because you wanted to divorce. Yes. It seems I was quite unpleasant towards you before, so." What Jining said about catching cheaters in bed, and Tang Tang, Tang Tang is my child, no doubt about that. As for the past, not having memories of it isn't necessarily a bad thing for you. Husband, spouses should be honest with each other. After I said this, Zhou Shujin adjusted his glasses and spilled everything. So, the word husband for this reserved man was like open sesame, according to Zhou Shujin's incomplete account. I deduced the truth. Jiangji, to break up, had thrown me under the bus with a setup, and indeed, Tang Tang was Zhou Shujin's child. We had a shotgun marriage, but I ended up hating him, resulting in us sleeping in separate rooms for many years. The weather is getting cooler. It's time for Zhang's group to go bankrupt. Zhou Shujin looked at me amusingly and said, "We called the police back then, but found no evidence, and you denied everything." In some ways, Jiangji is a talent too. After all, He unknowingly stole my brainstem, turning me into an idiot. Such are the dark chapters of life. Zhou Shujin and I chatted leisurely in the room for a long time, from the childhood days when I extorted him to buy me snacks, to just the other day when I broke Tang Tang's toy car. How did the nickname Tang Tang come about? Zhou Shujin's gaze shifted slightly, not answering immediately. Remembering his scholarly excellence, I asked, is it from vast and endless like the oceans? His lips moved slightly, and somewhat sheepishly he said, it's the Tang from Tom. Tang Tang Tom. I glanced at, in the world of ruffians and scholars, none are simple. The casually hung Tom pajamas on the chair didn't speak. Silly kitten, who could not love it. 18, that day. In the end, I felt too shy to suggest he move back into the master bedroom. With matters of the heart, it's best to go with the flow. After all, he's my husband and he's not going anywhere. As for Jiangji, before I could even confront him, he had already initiated a class reunion in the university group chat, and he specifically tagged me. Seeing the message made me want to rush to the bathroom to slap myself twice. Yaoanan, oh Yaoanan, how could you have been blinded by such crap back then? If I had known, I would have chased Zhou Shujin relentlessly since childhood. Of course, I would attend the reunion, but I wasn't planning to go alone. I told Zhou Shujin directly. He asked me what I thought, and I said, let's first get a feel of the situation, then seek justice where due. I patted his shoulder. Mr. Zhou, please make sure to back your wife up impressively. Zhou Shujin raised an eyebrow but said nothing. 19. On the day of the reunion, I had planned to go with Zhou Shujin and return quickly, but as it happened, the aunt took leave, so I had to bring Tang Tang along. Given my past with Jiangji, many people had heard about it, fearing their indiscretion. I asked Zhou Shujin to stay in the car with Tang Tang first. Sure enough, as soon as I appeared, many classmates gathered around to talk. Some were comforting, others mocking. I looked at their familiar faces. Not long ago, they had appeared vibrant and energetic, now entirely consumed by worldliness. Thanks to their loose lips, I also learned some details about Jiangji. Turns out, my college roommate got several properties from a demolition deal, which is how she stole him away. And now he has started his own company, which reportedly isn't doing too badly. After a short while of commotion, Jiangji and his wife arrived. Looking at him now, I felt only relief, glancing at his receding hairline, prominent belly, and his puffy, doughy face. Where was the trace of the campus heartthrob from back then? And he had the nerve to tag me, and then, still as beautiful as ever after 5 years. Jiangji came over to talk to me, putting on an act. I forced a smile, turned, and ducked into the bathroom to call Zhou Shujin to come up and fetch me. What's the point in one-upmanship? I had no interest in it. On the phone, Zhou Shujin chuckled and said he'd be right up. 20. Just as I stepped out of the bathroom, I was startled by a dark figure leaning against the wall. Then the shadow spoke. Hey there, how have you been these years? It turned out to be Jiangji. I almost thought someone had moved the wardrobe to the bathroom door, seeing that I didn't respond. He even tried to pull my hand. I wished I could jump up right there and bounce away for miles. Stay back, I'm allergic to ugliness. Jiangji's face twisted momentarily but quickly recovered. Hey, are you still mad at me? I had no choice back then. I quickly waved my hands to interrupt him, bowed 3 times right there to thank him for not marrying me back then, a favor akin to giving me a new life. Then I hurried back to the reunion. No sooner had I settled on the sofa than Jiangji followed. The noisy venue fell silent for a moment, then whispers began. Is this our classmate? Such a handsome guy. Did we ever have someone like this at our school? Come on, even the Jiangji from back then can't compare. He's 3 times less. I looked in the direction of the voices. Zhou Shujin had arrived. I breathed a sigh of relief and hurried over to cling to his arm. Let me introduce you. This is my husband. Since Tang Tang was still waiting for us in the car, Zhou Shujin and I made a brief appearance and then left. Looking at Jiangji and Zhou Shujin standing together, they looked like they were from different generations. I thought to myself, there really are no grievances that can't be overcome in this world. As we were going downstairs, Zhou Shujin jokingly asked if the face-slapping drama I had prepared was cancelled, pretending to be overwhelmed by alcohol. I gently rested my head on his shoulder and whispered softly, we've already won. 21. The evening breeze on a summer night is always so gentle. I suggested we just leave the car here and take a walk as a family. Under the dim street lights, Tang Tang hopped and jumped, loudly singing, loving you. I walk alone through dark alleys. I looked at Zhou Shujin beside me, whispered a few words into his ear. His eyes sparkled as he turned to look at me, his expression mirroring Tang Tang's, smiling. I took his arm and pointed to a public electric bike ahead. Honey, I'm tired, let's ride that home. His expression, so gentle moments ago, suddenly became indescribable. Glancing at the little dress I was wearing, he asked, are you sure? I blinked. Zhou Shujin, with a resigned expression, took off his suit jacket and tied it around my waist, then, wearing his shirt, he took Tang Tang in front, and me in the back, and rode the electric bike. Tang Tang had never ridden an electric bike before. The air was filled with his joyful laughter. However, we didn't get far before a traffic cop stopped us, because it's a fine of 20 yuan for carrying passengers on an electric bike. Alas, in the end, we had to take a taxi home. 22. Later, after a long while, I saw Jiangji again. At that time I was taking Tang Tang out to snack on street food. Unwittingly attracted by the aroma of fried stinky tofu at the street corner, I scanned the QR code, only to find out that Jiangji was the one pushing the cart selling stinky tofu. He recognized me too, looked miserable, and rambled on about how his company's tax issues had caused most clients to leave, and the finance department had run off with the remaining funds. He had closed his company, yet was burdened with debt. In the end, this jerk even tried to poo me, but unfortunately, he no longer had his former capital. Suppressing my disgust, I said, don't worry, I'll definitely think of a way to help you once I get back. As soon as I walked away, I made a call. Hello, I'd like to report unlicensed business activity here. Watching as Jiangji's cart was confiscated by the city management, I shed tears of sorrow. Such a pity for my stinky tofu, bringing Tang Tang to eat junk food again. Just as Tang Tang and I were hiding in the crowd enjoying the scene, Zhou Shujin caught us red-handed. I chuckled, we haven't eaten anything, we're just here for the fun. Tang Tang quickly agreed, yes, Mom and I didn't eat any fried skewers, grilled cold noodles, or octopus balls. Tang Tang has always been a clever child. Zhou Shujin looked at us helplessly and said, next time you want to eat something, tell me, it's not clean outside. I nodded while ordering food. As the street lights began to glow, our family of 3 slowly walked home. Back to the present. Just a moment ago, I was cuddled up in Zhou Shujin's arms, talking about having a second child. The next second, I opened my eyes and was back in the dormitory. In my drowsy state, I even answered a morning call. Anan, baby, get up, your dear boyfriend is waiting downstairs hungry. I jolted awake and sat up in bed. Who is this greasy man possessed by someone else? Ah, I remember now. It's the scumbag Jiangji. Just thinking about his face 10 years from now makes me lose my appetite for 3 days, so I rushed downstairs and dumped him in front of everyone. Then I called Zhou Shujin. The phone rang for a while before he answered, his voice husky, and then he fell silent. Remembering that I had just officially announced my relationship with Jiangji last night, I cleared my throat and asked, Zhou Shujin, visible from afar, yet separated by a wall as high as a city, what did you mean by that post on your moments this morning? Zhou Shujin's breathing hitched but he didn't speak. I rolled my eyes. Typical brooding man, I'll give you one chance, no questions asked, just answer me. Do you want to have a relationship aimed at marriage with me? Yaoanen, I like you, always have, so why didn't the love letter reach me? You knew. I knew 10 years later, because that day, I heard you say in the classroom that you would never like Zhou Shujin in this lifetime. The one time I played hard to get, it cost me dearly. Zhou Shujin, actually, I've traveled here from 10 years in the future. You might not believe it, but 10 years from now, we're married, yes, we even have a child. My straightforward confession made Zhou Shujin fly back from across the ocean overnight. Not only did he confess his feelings to me again formally, but he also hurried home to have dinner with me. Thus, a year after graduation, Zhou Shujin and I got married and took beautiful wedding photos. Jining praised me greatly when she was my bridesmaid. After the wedding, Zhou Shujin and I focused on our careers and didn't rush to have children until I was 27 years old. Is it today? Zhou Shujin asked softly next to my ear. I hugged his neck, still half asleep, and replied, today is Tongtong's birthday. Zhou Shujin paused, his face sweating. Anan. There are 12 months in a year. I tried to make sense of his words with my muddled brain. Pregnancy takes 10 months. He stroked my head and said, so it should be 2 months later. 12 months later, I finally gave birth to a lovely baby. Zhou Shujin named him Zhou Yu, crossing the long river of time, amid miracles that science cannot explain. Time and again, I encounter you.